quiet, I'm not going to speak. And I say to you, thank you very much for coming along tonight. The reason why you are standing here tonight is that your local government hasn't been communicating with you since 2006. This process has started. We not have been in this process since 2006. We have done a number of reports on it. Your local government is the one that has an opportunity, and I've been in this job for 1 year, and I told them in July last year, we're going through this process, you have the opportunity to get involved in this process, but I did tell them that you have to be part of this process, other than not, I would put in a proposal for you. The most important thing as I said, I've asked local government, I came to this job a year ago, the agencies asked me, the councils asked me to make a decision on this reform process. I gave them that process, they chose not to do anything. So the process, I told them in July last year that we go through this process. But if I can just do that process, I can only accept it or reject it. And you've had the opportunity for the last 6 weeks for a public process, but also your local government's had process for the last 10 years on this process to work out the best model for local governments as we move forward.
Get your own house in order. Get your own house in order, mate. Get your own house in order. Don't be ordered.
And he said this in December 2013 in this newsletter. He said this: I have always believed that a combined council covering Claremont, Cottesloe, Mosman Park and Peppermint Grove makes sense. However, claims that the state government will use its powers to force such an amalgamation are simply not true. Not only did the Premier not tell the truth to the people of Western Australia, he did not tell the truth to his own electorate prior to the election. To about a very important issue before the last election, and no matter how much they go on about local government advisory boards and about processes and councils didn't have a say in a process or whatever, the central point remains: people and communities were lied to before the last election, and dishonesty should never be rewarded. So I'll say this to you. I want to read one last thing out to you. This is the level to which it's gotten. We raise these issues in this Parliament all the time. I raised it with the Premier on the 27th of February this year. And I want to read to you the question that I asked him, and then I want to read to you his response, and you can judge for yourselves. I said to him, if the number of councils is halved without the support of residents or the local councils, is that forced amalgamation? Mr. Barnett replied, no. That's what I'm dealing with, and that's what we're dealing with on a daily basis. And all of these manoeuvres to remove the local poll provisions, frankly, they are duplicitous, they are wrong, they are sneaky, they are tricky, they should not do it, and they should allow for local councils, for local communities to make their own decisions on their own futures. I'll close on this point. Can you imagine the reaction if the federal government came along and said, without giving anyone a say, we're going to abolish Western Australia, we're going to abolish South Australia, we're going to abolish the Northern Territory, we're going to make you all one. How would the states and the territory react? We would say no. We deserve to have a say in this, and so do local communities, local people and local councils. We're with you all the way. Thank you.
Give us a vote. Allow the people to judge how smart this is. Can I remind people, he did go to the last election saying no amalgamation. He has no mandate to do this. Secondly, The whole thing is based on no business plan. There is no evidence to show that we're going to save anything. The evidence now amounting is going to cost $200 million to kind of like achieve this madness. Here is a state that's just lost its AAA rating. Here's a state that kind of like has just slashed 180 million out of education, and they're willing to spend 200 million. Not quite. They expect you in your community to find it. In Kalamunda, that means $10 million to be thrown into a thing we don't want. It means our rates are going to go up between $300 and $500 kind of like dollars each a household. It's something we don't want. It's something we don't want to pay for, and it's something that we just don't want to lose this sense of identity. I just finally tell you the lunacy of this whole thing. Your minister told us that we're all uninformed. We don't know what we're talking about. I've just had a conversation with him, and he said to me, you know what, in the eastern states, no one is de-amalgamated. I don't know, Mr. Minister, who you're listening to, but in Victoria, 2 people have allowed to be de-amalgamating. Queensland, can I remind you that after 5 years of amalgamation, 4 communities were allowed the right to have a vote, despite 10 asking for it. In all of those cases, all 4 voted overwhelmingly to de-amalgamate. In Noosa, they were told it'll cost them $15 million to de-amalgamate, and still 81% of residents said it was worth it. We want to go back to being who we are. Now, can I finally say, this government recently, in part of this big is always better, created a thing called the Office of Shared Resources. It was about bringing all government departments together. They spent $400 million doing it. It was a total failure. They're now pulling it apart after spending $400 million. So big isn't always better. Ladies and gentlemen, can I say, keep the rage up. This is the start. This is an arrogant government that we've got to keep pushing. The battle has only started.
And stand united against a government that is trying to get rid of the most sustainable local government in the whole of Australia. Keep the fight up. Thanks very much for coming.